presentation. As I mentioned, he's a broker. He runs our Pasadena office that we work out of. He also runs an office in Arizona and building out in Hawaii. He spent 10 years in the nonprofit role. Served as a college pastor for like 5 years. He's a graduate of APU, has his master's, and he's a managing broker with the company People Helping People. Please welcome Mr. Andrew Gaines.
I have water I'm going to try and not spill, and a phone so I stay on time. How's everybody doing? Who's awake? How's everybody doing? Okay, good. People are crazy. Have you noticed that? It's crazy because if you ask someone for their phone number, they won't give it to you. But if you ask them for a business card, they can't give it to you fast enough. Isn't that weird? It's like, I'm going to call you. I'm going to, thank you. They asked me to speak a little bit about People Helping People. There was a really fun intro that I had set up, but for the sake of time, I'm going to cut it. So the funny story you were expecting at the beginning of a presentation, it's gone. If you want to know, you'll have to talk to me afterwards. But any of you guys, Wall Street Journal, Bankrate, Forbes, read these things, you're familiar with these things? Bankrate did a study, and they did a study, if you read Bankrate, they did an article, and it was on the new 6 figures. And so we took some of this information, some of the data they collected, we made a presentation about it, and we're talking about it a lot all over the country. Right now our company is on a national tour. We've been sponsored and endorsed by AIG and Nationwide. You guys know Nationwide is? You are awake, you can sing, this is good. And so we're going around the country talking about entrepreneurship, talking about financial freedom, talking about financial independence and how important it is. Sometimes people say to me, hey Andrew, you're in the financial industry, who are your competitors? I don't have any competitors. Do you want to know why? Because there's not enough of us. There's not enough of us in the industry. And if you're in the financial industry, my hat is off to you. I applaud you. I thank you for your efforts and what you're doing on a daily basis to help people save money, to help people protect their money. But I want to jump back to Bankrate really quickly. Bankrate did a study and said, what is a good income in America? Because we've all heard the old adage, go to school, get good grades so you can make 6 figures. So you can get a good job, right? And a good job is what in America? If you're an entrepreneur, you run your own business in the room, please raise your hand. If you're an entrepreneur, you run your business. Give these people, look around, give these people a round of applause. Good job for you guys. Because I think a lot of us would agree that the America that we live in today is very different than America 40 years ago. Yes or yes? Yes. The idea of a 40-hour work week, 9 to 5, if that's going to get it done, that's gone. That is totally gone. But this idea of 6 figures, where did we get the benchmark of 6 figures? Where did make $100,000 a year come from? Where did that kind of cultural expectation come from? They wanted to do some research and figure it out. So they did some research. And they found that if you were living in 1980, making 6 figures was a big deal. It meant you lived in a certain zip code, drove a certain car, you were able to take the family, go to do a couple of vacations, have those experiences, do those kinds of things. Back in 1980, making 6 figures, that was a big deal. But if you look at it today, does everything get less expensive or more expensive? More. You guys are an intelligent group. Yeah. So they wanted to say, if making 6 figures in 1980 was a big deal, and the people who thought it was a big deal, then we're going to go into corporate America, and now they're the baby boomers, and they're running the tops of corporations. So this cultural expectation of making 6 figures has just stayed in that generation. If that was a big deal in 1980, what's 6 figures today? And so they did an article, they did some studies on what the new 6 figures is. Watch this. We're going to compare 1980 to 2014. Is that okay? Yeah. Don't feel old. Don't feel old. 1980 to 2014. In 1980, a stamp was 15 cents. In 2014, it was 49 cents. 204% increase. Eggs were 48 cents a dozen. Today, $2 a dozen. You look at bacon. Any bacon lovers in the room? Don't tell Joanna, right? Well, I don't know where you went, but I love bacon. I love bacon. Used to be $1.20, $6.11. How's that make you feel? How's that make you feel? The average house was around 60 grand back in 1980. Average median household across the U.S. Today, almost 300,000. If you live in the San Gabriel, San Marino, Pasadena area, you can triple that, quadruple that, or do whatever you want. But average in America, 280,000. The average annual income was $18,000 a year in 1980. That wasn't bad. Today, if you were making the same amount of money, it's 50 grand a year. Pretty wild, right? Do you know what the average median income in the U.S. is right now? 41 to 50. That's the average that most people make at their job or whatever they do. So what do you see about these percentages? The smallest percentage. I'm not here to dupe, to convince, or do anything else. I want to be really honest, but I want to be honest. And I want to be honest and clear about the numbers. The smallest percentage up there is a 204% increase. Yes? So let's just go conservative, that inflation, what things have gone and how things have increased. Let's just go with the smallest number and say if you were making 100 grand in 1980, what is that in today's dollars? So if you were making 18,000 bucks a year, 17.7 in 1980, today it's 53. But if you were making 100 grand back then, today that's $304,000 a year. This is the new six figures. So this becomes the question. Everyone's still talking about 100 grand like it's a big deal. Everyone talks about making six figures as if it were a big deal. 1 in 5 people in America make six figures. So watch this. I need 2 people at every table just to raise your hands. I don't care whom. You're all beautiful. Raise them up high, proud. It's not a come to Jesus moment. Just put your hands up. Okay, 2 people at every table. I need 2. I need 2. Do I have 2? 2. Do I have 2? 5, 2. Okay, cool. Look around. 2 people at the table. That's the average amount of people in America. 1 in 5 who make six figures. No longer a big deal. 1 in 50 make $250,000 or more. And in case you're wondering, is my occupation, is my job, is my business, is what I'm doing putting me in a position to keep up to date with buying the bacon I like? It's the new six figures. This becomes the question. And so I had to, when I realized this, I had to think, okay, I'm in the nonprofit world. Making 60, 70 grand a year is nothing. That is not a big deal. I thought making six figures was a big deal. I've got to go higher, got to go more. I had to find a different industry. So if you want to go make $300,000 a year, you got to find an industry that's going to support that. So 3 emerging industries. Anybody here use a cell phone? Just wave at me. Just wave. Good to see. Good to see you too. We're on a float, right? How many of you guys use apps on your phone? I see those hands. Computer software engineer. Look at this. Computer industry. Potential industries that'll pay you a $300,000 income. All this stuff comes from Forbes, Bankrate. You can go look all this stuff up. Computer industry, software engineering degree. 8 years of school. You're about going to pay $126,000 to $200,000 for that piece of education. So go in there and build all the apps and the software programs and everything that's going on in software computer engineering. Pretty big industry, wouldn't you agree? Anybody know anyone who's a software engineer building an app? You've worked on an app, your friend works on an app, anything like that? Yeah. Look at that, everybody. Everybody knows somebody who's working on an app. Saturated industry. Medical industry. You're going to do 12 years of school. Average cost $200,000 to $300,000. Those are the stats. I didn't make them up. They come from Forbes, Bankrate. That's what you're going to pay for typical average medical school costs. Anybody know anyone who's a nurse, nursing school, medical doctor, PA, physician, phlebotomist? Anybody know this stuff? Pretty wild. Pretty wild. There is a waiting list for nursing school in America right now. Pretty crazy. Financial industry. Financial industry, what do you have to do? You don't have to go to school. You have to get a license. And that's scary. That could be kind of scary because you're thinking about your health and they have to go to 12 years of school before they cut you open. But for your money and your finances, they have to get a license. They have to pay $300, $2,000 to go get a license. Now, calm down. And I know we have some attorneys in the room. My brother's an attorney. So just like me. It's okay. If doctors and attorneys are allowed to do to you what they do, and they're allowed to call it a practice, if they're allowed to practice on you with your health and law, then getting a license in the financial industry isn't that big a deal. Some people say, well, why aren't there higher qualifications for people in the financial industry? Just because you want to get a license doesn't mean you can. But if you're looking at an industry you want to get into that could pay you $300,000 a year, these are emerging industries that you could choose from. Okay, not bad. You can do a couple things. One, you could go back to school. But are you guaranteed a job? No. If you go to Craigslist right now, I want you, when you get home, go to Craigslist and type in and just look up the number of people who have master's degrees and PhDs who are looking for work and they can't get hired because they are overqualified. It's everybody. Monster, Indeed. You can find hundreds of thousands of resumes, people looking for that. So you can go back to school. You're not guaranteed a job. People could say, well, I don't think I'm ever going to make $250,000 or more a year, so I'm just going to settle for my current job, or I'm just going to try and climb the corporate ladder and find another one like it. I'm not against corporate America. I've realized for me that corporate America is never going to get the job done for me, my family, and the things that I want to do before I'm dead. The things that are in the headlines today, some of the major problems with child sex trafficking and clean water that I care a lot about, a company is never going to pay me enough for me to make a massive difference in that area. I got to go do a lot more, make a lot more. Does that make sense? So this is pretty wild. You go to school. I don't know if you know this. 83% of people who go to school, when they get out, they don't have a job lined up. 4 out of 5 kids move back in with mom and dad after they graduate because they don't have a job lined up. I'm not against higher education. I have 2 pieces of paper hanging on my wall, and I paid a pretty penny for them. But here's the thing. You're never going to convince this guy that the system works anymore. I'm not saying the system is bad. I'm saying the system's broken. It's not a fault of people. It's just that times change. Go to school, get good grades, get a good job. When you get out of school, you end up with a variety of things they call student loan debt. And then you go and look for a job, and we know what's happening with not only inflation, but also minimum wages going up. If you've been to a McDonald's lately, I'm told you can go to a kiosk and punch in your order. They're no longer paying people $10 an hour to punch in your order. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
We don't have anyone. No one goes to McDonald's. You should have it. They're healthy. They're good to go. Right? So I'm going to fly by this. When I realized this, I sat down with my father was a senior executive in the broadcast industry. He did very well. He was fine with the new six figures. He was fine. But when I got out of school, I sat down with a variety of his friends who were very successful, multimillionaires, and I said, hey, what would you recommend for someone like myself, getting out of school, who wants to be a professional, who wants to make a really good income, but have a really good lifestyle and not be chained to a job 80 hours a week, things like this. He said, whatever you do, go open your own business. Go become an entrepreneur. Are you an entrepreneur in the room? Raise your hand one more time. Give yourselves another round of applause. Because we believe that people helping people, that entrepreneurship is a noble profession. We believe that entrepreneurs are the people who create jobs, not the government. And I don't care what business you start, just start a business. Man, go start a business. So for that's for you. But I decided that I didn't want to go into the medical industry or the computer industry. I wanted to go into the financial industry. And so I'm going to tell you why in the next, 5 minutes, I'm going to tell you why I picked the financial industry and why I picked PHP. Are we good so far?
Yeah.
I hope I'm not putting you to sleep. By the way, I didn't want to disturb anyone by shocking you and saying that 300,000 is the new six figures if you were really excited about six figures. I didn't want to hurt your feelings, but I told you I wanted to be honest with you. So you look at baby boomers. Here's one reason why I was advised by someone who was very successful to get into this industry. Because anybody know who the baby boomers are? Me. Si se puede. We are! Right? Baby boomers. Baby boomers. There's 76 million of them. 76 million. When everybody got back from World War II, they saw their sweetheart for the first time. The first thing on their mind was dinner. Then dessert. We were on fire making babies, 10,000 babies a day for 19 years. We set a record. That was awesome. In America, we set a record. If you're a baby boomer, give yourself a round of applause. Yeah. You look at the music of that era, it's all love songs. But if you look at, there's more than 200 million people. There's more than 200 million people in America who need financial help, financial advice, financial resources. And most people in middle America, the two places they go for financial advice are either a bank or they go to their friends and family who are usually in just as much debt and just as broke as they are. It's the blind leading the blind. True or true? It's funny, but it's true. And so what we decided as a company is we've got to do something different. PHP, we are a full-service financial brokerage. We have a variety of offerings, the stocks, the bonds, the mutual funds, annuities, life insurance, long-term care, all the stuff you see on TV, all the stuff you get in your mail, all the stuff everyone at a chamber event tries to solicit you for. Yes, we do all that too, right? Here's the question, though. Why is everybody talking about this now? Magic Johnson. You know Magic Johnson? Yes. Magic Johnson. Who makes more money? You or Magic Johnson? Magic. Who has access to better business advisors? You or Magic Johnson? Magic. Who has a better track record of owning, operating, selling, and making a bunch of money in business? You or Magic Johnson? Magic. If Magic Johnson did something in a business role, do you think he probably had good ideas and good advice and good advisors to make the decision to put a bunch of money into that? Yeah. You know what he did a couple months ago? He bought 60% of a life insurance company that has $14.5 billion in management and life insurance and annuities that specifically talks about financial literacy education. And I would say that if Magic Johnson is putting a lot of his empire into that, it's good enough for you to take a second look at this industry as well. But here's what's going on. These aren't just the people who need our help. Millennials, there's 82 million of us. So those of you who are boomers, just wave at me. Boomers, we got you beat. There's 76 of you, there's 82 of us. You want to know what's crazy? We have something you don't have.
What's that?
You want to know what it is? Debt. We have $1.2 trillion of student loan debt. And when you were at our age in your life, you weren't going into corporate America with that much debt. We are. So here's my question for you. If you're not in the industry, take a second look at being a part of our industry and helping people with financial literacy. If you are in the industry, then here's my question and my challenge to you. Does your company offer a clear strategic plan of how to attract and help the millennial generation? Because 30 years ago, hi John, my name's Jerry. Hi Sally, I'm Jerry. I sell life insurance. I'm your local life insurance agent. I was wondering if I could come in and look at your policies, and if I could give you a better rate, would you switch? Door knockers, remember them? No one's knocking on the millennials' door. And most of the financial industry is doing what they've always done. So we want to help millennials. We want to help the sandwich generation. If you have kids that are alive and parents that are alive, go ahead and raise your hands. Oh, that's cool. But here's the thing. When I said before I have no competition, and here's why. In 1970, there were 500,000 Andrews running around. I don't know that you want 500,000 of me running around, but there were 500,000 of me running around in 1970. Licensed agents. Now there's only 150,000. How are 150,000 going to help 200 million? Well, you do the math. What's $4 trillion of commission paid out to $150,000? Or 150,000 agents? So timing. Last piece is this, and I have 1 minute. Here's why I chose PHP. This was important to me. If you're not in the industry, I would advise you talk to Gilda and Tom. Look at this industry. Look at potentially looking at this industry. Second thing is this. If you're in the industry and you're looking at your company and your opportunity, and if it's what you really want, and you're looking at other companies and opportunities, before I got into the industry, I looked at almost every single company out there. Every single company in this room and 12 that aren't in this room, I looked at their comp plan. I looked at their business model. I looked at their structure because I didn't want to waste my time. I want to find the best opportunity. I'm not saying your opportunity is bad. I'm not saying anyone's opportunity is bad or things like that. I support anyone who's in the industry. But for me, I wanted to find the best opportunity. I wanted to be in a place where I was non-captive. And if you're getting a little hot and heavy in the room, you're like, oh, but I'm captive. Just calm down. It's okay. A captive agent is this. A captive agent is someone who works for a company and they can only sell those companies' products. So when someone sits down with them, they can only offer one company's products. We offer a variety of products. So we're not trying to necessarily sell you a policy, we're trying to build you a plan. We can look at a variety of companies to find the best fit. Because a lot of people sell annuities, but some companies are better than others, yes? A lot of companies sell life insurance, but some are better and less expensive than others, yes? We make customized portfolios on that side. I also wanted equity ownership. Does your company allow you the opportunity? Does your company allow you the opportunity to own part of their company? At PHP, we do. We actually have a program, not stock options. I'm not talking about stock options, I'm talking about equity ownership. I cared about owning a piece of a company that I helped establish. I also cared about being able to grow nationally and have an agency, not limited to just being an agent or in a zip code. So there's a lot of things going on at PHP. I could go for an hour, but I'm done. Thank you all for being here. Good job for being an entrepreneur. Thank you so much for letting us speak. Have a safe and fun 4th of July, and God bless America. Thank you, guys.